ॐ विश्वानि देव सवितर्दुरितानि परासुव यद्भद्रं तन्न आसुव.
Friends, today we are with another specific lecture, and this lecture is regarding our planning system, city and village plannings in ancient India. How the ancient Indians or the Vedic rishis, they used to plan the cities and towns in this country, and they used to leave some space for forests, for residential areas, for agricultural area. So it was done all in a very planned way. And most of today in our modern era, what we are seeing is a very uh, haphazardly maintained cities and towns. There we don't find any such planning where ecology may be maintained, and due to all these problems we are seeing the global warming, ecological crisis. So keeping in view of the present scenario, it was decided that a lecture on the ancient Indian village and city planning may be organized. And we have with us a very suitable scholar, Dr. Niranjan Mangala. He did his uh, work or studies in modern sciences, but he studied the Vedic system also, ancient knowledge system also, and he will be presenting his views based upon Samarangana Sutradhar and other books regarding the city and village planning in ancient India. So I invite uh, Sri Ashwini Rajpal ji from Canada just to introduce our today's speaker. Ashwini ji.
Namaste and welcome, everyone. It's my honor to introduce Dr. Niranjan Lal Mangla, who did his BTech in Mechanical Engineering from IIT Delhi. He did his master's and PhD from the University of Mississippi, USA. His research concentrated on the control of boundary layers for a reduction of drag and generation of lift. He has taught for many years at RECK and YMCA University of Science and Technology. Niranjanji studied the Shadagas, including Panini Vyakaran, astronomy, six darshanas, Satapatha Brahmana, from eminent Vedic scholars in India. He also studied Samarangana Sutra Dhara, Rasa Sastras, Bharatnatyam. He is trying to revive the ancient science of air and spacecrafts at present. He has published Sriman Manusmriti Purified and Srimad Valmiki Ramayana Purified recently. He wishes to establish a Vedic university. Dr. Niranjan, over to you.
Thank you. Please accept my greetings. The friends in India and abroad, please accept the Indian Republic Day greetings. We got independence from the Britishers, but still we are not really independent of the ideas which have been thrown upon us by the Western culture. And nowadays, we are seeing so many problems like corona, climate change, pollution, terrorism, and various personal and social problems which have cropped up. The solution to most of these problems lies in the proper village, town, and city planning. So that's what my topic is, that the sustainable solution to global peace and prosperity is the Vedic village and city planning. Of course, along with that planning, two more things go hand in hand, that is the animal power and the man of character. So I start my talk now. If we the causes of the distressing climate change, pollution, pandemic, terrorism, personal and social problems in the light of Vedic sciences are the combustion of petroleum products, the disposal of sewage and industrial waste into water, the release of inconsistent vibrations into the atmosphere, unlimited oblique overpopulated towns and cities, and heavy machinery. Living in self-dependent, properly sized sectors, what we call as villages, surrounded by forests, the use of animal-powered small machines, and the man of character, why the Vedic education solve all these problems. Engineering, medicine, and defense can still be achieved with the environmental friendly Vedic science and technology. This is the only sustainable solution to global peace and prosperity. So, this is in brief my lectures will be about. Now, in the first phase, I discuss the causes of climate change, corona, violence, which may be in the form of terrorism or wars or road accidents, etc., and the causes of the personal and social problems which man is facing these days. So, the first part is the causes of all these problems, because unless we know the cause, uh, it's difficult to find the solution. So once we know what are the causes, then we can remove those causes in the form of the solution. Now, global warming is clearly visible by the use of fans in traditionally cold regions. The melting of the glaciers and increasing wildfires, cyclones and heavy rains are occurring at improper times. Dr. Ravi Prakash, can we see pictures 1, 2, and 3? Page 4. Page 4, can you display the pictures? Yes, right. Thank you. So here we see that the first picture, see the glaciers. This is the picture shown by NASA. So there was a glacier before and now it has melted into water. So we don't have that glacier at present. And so many glaciers all over the world are melting every day. And we know that the Arctic ice and the Antarctic ice is also melting. Mountains of ice are just breaking down. Now, similarly, the wildfires. So many wildfires are taking place in US, Canada, Australia, etc. And thousands of acres of this forest area has been burnt. Similarly, if we see here the cyclones, so this is the picture of cyclone Maha 2019, and every year now we are experiencing these cyclones quite often. So that is a sign of climate change. Similarly, Corona, this picture is of course familiar, how it is troubling all of us these days. So again, if we see here the picture number 5, the road accidents, I shall be discussing about it also, that lakhs of people are dying every year because of these road vehicle accidents. So cyclones and heavy rains are occurring at improper times. Many regions are having rains much less than the normal. Climate change. Now, I'm not giving the references, but in my paper, like the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change 2019 has clearly brought out all these issues. So the climate change is pinching men, animals, birds, and sea creatures. So again, United Nations climate change poses a threat to our oceans 2021. If we see that article, so the sea creatures are also in trouble these days. Shortage of drinking water and healthy food, air and water pollution, and various diseases like blood pressure, diabetes, mental stress, etc. are common. Every day, men, women, and children are being killed by terrorists and viruses. Scientists are alarming the doomsday. So, the doomsday clock announcement 2020, scientists are saying that doomsday is very close. Now, distressed man wants to abandon this earth and go to Mars. So, Simon Worrell, 2018. But that will be the pursuit of a brainless coward. The intelligent and brave's duty is to find the cause and solve the problem. Now, let us see what are the causes of climate change and pollution. So, the global warming, why there is global warming? Now, more than 100 million barrels of petroleum products are being consumed daily in the world. So, this is the report from the International Energy Agency, Oil Information 2019, that 100 million barrels of petroleum products are being consumed daily. And most of these, around two-thirds portion, are being burnt as petrol, diesel, aviation fuel, etc. in cars, trucks, ships, and aeroplanes, etc. Now, 1 liter of petrol or diesel liberates around 35 megajoules of energy on complete combustion. So, all of it directly in the form of heat or indirectly in overcoming friction or drag goes into the atmosphere. Therefore, every day 37 into 10 raised power of 10, that means it's around 37,000, you can say 6, 10, 37,000 billions of megajoules of energy is being released into the atmosphere. And this is equivalent to 89 megatons of TNT, or around 5,911 Hiroshima bombs being exploded daily. That means so much energy, when so much petrol or diesel is burning, that is equivalent to explosion of around 6,000 Hiroshima bombs daily. Thus, the atmosphere is getting warmer every day. Our Earth is not directly open to space to dissipate this amount of heat. is surrounded by dark matter as per the Vedic sciences, and I have written a paper on that. You can see there. That means we are surrounded by dark matter all around. And modern findings also prove it, like Charles 2019. Therefore, the Earth's temperature has risen by 0.08 degrees Celsius per decade since 1880, and the rate of warming is more than twice that. It's 0.18 degrees Celsius per decade since 1981. 2020 was the second warmest year on record. You can refer to NOAA National Climate Report 2020. Now, second cause of the climate change and pollution is the excessive use of oxygen. See, 1 liter of petrol or oblique diesel requires around 2.5 kg of oxygen for complete combustion. One can refer to the any engineering book like Rogers and Mayhew. So 100 million barrels of petroleum products which are being consumed, they consume more than 2.33 into 10 raised power of 10 kgs of oxygen daily. So the trees with the continuous reducing forest cover, that means it's around 23 trillion kgs of oxygen being consumed daily. 23 trillion kg of oxygen being consumed daily. So the trees with the continuous reducing forest cover cannot compensate for this loss, especially in the local polluted areas. Though the global oxygen level as on 15 November 2021 is 0.06% less than that on 13 December 1990, one can refer to the oxygenlevels.org. It has adversely affected the ozone layers in the atmosphere. Like high intensity of the sun rays in winter, at least in Faridabad, Haryana, points towards that. And it has also affected the dissolved oxygen in water in the oceans. I repeat, the excessive consumption of oxygen in the world has affected the ozone layers and the oxygen dissolved in the oceans. Why? Though the scientists consider the air pollution responsible for the ozone depletion, the oxygen concentration in the atmosphere also affects it. The nature wants to keep the oxygen level in the atmosphere almost constant, as is evident from the report from oxygenlevels.org for the safety of its inhabitants. The loss of oxygen in the atmosphere is compensated by the oxygen in the oceans or the ozone layer. Ozone is basically oxygen, O3. As a result of holes in the ozone layers, many processes taking place in the environment are getting distorted. Harmful rays come to the Earth's surface, cyclones and untimely rains are the result. Reduced level of oxygen in water leads to the destruction of marine life. One can refer to nationalgeographic.com. Oceans are losing oxygen. So, so far I have explained that the reason for climate change, number one is the global warming, and number two, the excessive use of oxygen, and the culprit is the use of the diesel oblique the petroleum products. Now the third cause of the climate change and pollution is air pollution. Combustion of petroleum products leads to the formation of toxic gases like carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, nitric oxide, sulfur dioxide, etc. A person standing near a petrol oblique diesel vehicle can sense it. One can imagine the scale of air pollution when 67 million barrels of petroleum products are being burnt daily. 67 million barrels. Now, life has become miserable in a city like Delhi. The air quality index at 3 p.m. on 14th November 2021 in Pusa, Delhi was 187 AQI. Now, it should be between 0 to 50 AQI for healthy air, but it was 187. Breathing, heart, and brain diseases have sprung up. So one can refer to the World WHO 2018. Polluted air affects the trees also. As per one can refer to the Encyclopedia of the Environment 2019. So keeping in view all these points, Lord Manu says, do not throw Amedhya into fire. So one can refer to Manusmriti, and there that is chapter 4, verse 53. So now petroleum is amedhya because its products on combustion generate amedhya gases, and therefore combustion of petroleum products even on a small scale in a reciprocating oblique jet engine etc. is non-virtuous, it is a sin. Now fourth point is the pollution by electromagnetic waves, vibrations. The sound of a horse gallop is pleasing. The sound of a scooter oblique truck engine is harsh. The unpleasant sound waves, vibrations adversely affect the environment. So one can refer to the Australian Academy of Sciences 2017. The microwave frequencies used for communication, mobile phones, etc. are also harmful. One can refer to the paper by Donald McCree. It is instructed by the great seer Patanjali in Vyakaran Mahabhashyam that the use of incorrect words, that is non-Sanskrit words, is non-virtuous. Now the waves, vibrations generated by the use of Sanskrit words are in tune with the environment and the structure of the universe. Manusmriti clearly says that this whole universe was created with the Vedic mantras. So the waves, vibrations generated by the use of non-Sanskrit words, macro or micro, starting from the engine oil till 5G, they are all creating an imbalance. They are producing an adverse effect on this whole environment and the universe. The excessive use of electromagnetic waves for telecommunication is creating havoc. Now, the fifth reason for climate change is the water pollution. The main reason for water pollution is the discharge of excreta, industrial waste, etc. into water. Around 8 liters of water are used in one-time use of flush in the toilet. Around 5 liters of water are used for one-time urination. A man uses toilet at least once and urinates around 5 times a day in 24 hours. He uses 33 liters of water daily. Even if half the population of India uses flush toilets, 22.4 into 10 raised power of 9, that means around 22 trillion liters of water are being used and polluted daily. Dr. V. Prakash, can you show these figures on page that is 8? Right. Page 8, water pollution. Right. So 22.4 into 10 of 9 liters of water are being used and polluted daily. So that's a huge amount of water. The water used for bathing and washing of clothes, etc., is also mixed with that. Thus, one can see the dirty, foul smelling streams flowing on the outskirts of towns and cities everywhere in India. These then fall into the main rivers, oblique oceans. One feels ashamed of the dirty Yamuna River near Delhi or the sewage water streams falling into the Ganges near Varanasi. Varanasi. All the river water gets polluted. Common man is obtaining polluted sewage water in the rivers instead of the pure Himalayan water. That's a great uh, cir- uh, that's a great puzzle now. Sewage treatment plants cannot purify water completely. Subtle toxic particles still exist. Therefore, the drinking water is getting scarce. Sufficient water is not available even for common usage. Contaminated water used for irrigation contaminates the food. Hence, food is generating diseases. Intelligence to differentiate right from the wrong is deteriorating. Polluted water contaminates the soil and even the air after evaporation. There is deterioration of the environment, and therefore the Lord Manu says, do not discharge urine or feces or spit into water, anything stained with amedhya, blood or poison into water. So this is a very simple verse which tells that do not throw urine or feces or spit into water or any amedhya into water. So that's a sin. So because we are not following this rule and polluting the water, so the problem is right in front of us. Now the sixth cause of the climate change and pollution, the chemical fertilizers and pesticides. As per the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, the world consumption of the three chemical fertilizer nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, is estimated to reach 200 billion kgs. So this is Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, 2017. Now, this degrades the soil and pollutes water, air, and food. One can refer to the paper by Serpil 2012. Similarly, chemical pesticides are being used in large quantities. They are endangering the environment and the health. Now, the seventh cause of climate change and pollution is the deforestation. Deforestation and forestation degradation continue to take place at alarming rates, which contribute significantly to ongoing loss of biodiversity. Between 2015 and 2020, the rate of deforestation was estimated at 10 million hectares per year. This is Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations report 2020. So this has a serious impact on the environment, and one can refer to the World Wildlife, the effects of deforestation 2021. Forests are a great carbon sink and emitters of oxygen. So deforestation means we are reducing the carbon sink and reducing the emitters of oxygen. So I'm speaking from my side, but I hope the audience is understanding my points. Is it okay?
Yes, yes, yes.
Uh, you're getting all these points?
Yeah, very much.
Thank you. So I again uh, tell in brief that the main causes of climate change and pollution are global warming, the burning of the global warming, the air pollution, the water pollution, the chemical fertilizers, and the excessive use of oxygen. And the main culprit is the use of petroleum products in millions of barrels being burned daily. And apart from that, the second culprit is the use of water in the toilets, uh, which is again consuming billions of liters of water, and which is getting polluted and waste being wasted. And of course, the chemical fertilizers and pesticides are also a cause, along with the deforestation. So the main causes of climate change and pollution have been discussed. Now I come to the causes of, because my topic said the sustainable solution to climate change, the pandemic, right? Corona. So what is the cause of pandemic like corona and other diseases? See, the pollution of the environment and climate change are responsible for various infectious diseases. See, when the air and water they have been polluted, so the insects or the worms and the viruses, they can easily breed. And this is the World WHO report, Climate Change and Infectious Diseases 2020. So the various coronaviruses, etc., they come up because of the climate change and pollution. Insects, worms, and viruses breed in dirty water and polluted air. Climate change stimulates their growth. The immunity of living creatures decreases with the climate change. For example, now, because if in winter, if it is if severe cold, or in the summer, if it is severe, the temperatures are very high, then the living beings, they also feel their capacity to fight the various diseases, that is, the immunity also comes down. So the immunity of living creatures decreases with climate change and unhealthy environment and food. Though it is a matter of investigation, it appears that the abundance of electromagnetic waves being used for telecommunication is also helping in the generation and nourishment of the viruses like corona. See, as per the Vedic sciences, there are so many minute creatures which are living in air, and viruses are also one of them. And we call them Rakshasas. Basically, viruses are Rakshasas. So, uh, like because of the electromagnetic waves, many birds have disappeared from our locality. And similarly, it's very much possible that so much of electromagnetic waves in the environment is helping in the breeding of these viruses. Of course, the absence of physical exercise leads to decrease in immunity to diseases. Diabetes, blood pressure, sugar, etc. become common. So, my point is that the cause of these pandemics and other diseases is also the climate change and pollution, which the pollution also includes the waves which are now present in abundance all over the earth. Now, next, the cause of violence or terrorism in the world. See, the cruelty towards nature, which is a non virtuous act or sin by human beings, indirectly generates violence. This is very important. Like, to every action, there's equal and opposite reaction, right? In science. Similarly, Lord Manu says, a non virtuous act is not immediately fruitful. It slowly returns back and cuts the roots of the sinner. So, this is Manusmriti chapter 4, verse 172. So, avashyame bhoktavyam shubhashubham ved shatpathe api agachati.
Karam Shubha Shubham.
This thing.
Avashyameva bhoktavyam kritam karam Shubha Shubham.
Oh, Shobana. So when man is cruel towards nature, is causing violence towards nature, so the nature is reacting back, and so man is getting violence in return, and now this violence is in the form of wars, road accidents, terrorism, etc. So therefore there were 40 million casualties in the First World War and 80 million casualties in the Second World War. We can refer to Wikipedia World War II casualties, and let there be no Third World War with God's grace. So many people are being killed by terrorists and accidents every day. Approximately 1.3 million people, that means 13 lakh people die each year as a result of road traffic crashes. So one can refer to that picture 5, which I've already shown. And between 20 to 50 million more people suffer non-fatal injuries, with many incurring a disability. This is the report from WHO, Road Traffic Injuries 2021. Now the viruses, that is corona, etc., are killing us. There were 249 million confirmed cases of COVID-19, including more than 5 million deaths as of 8 November 2021. This is the report from WHO, Coronavirus 2021. Now, atomic war, if you, Dr. Ravi Prakash, can we show on page 4, picture 6? Right. So, if you see here, an atomic explosion taking place, and this was the explosion that took place in Hiroshima, and many more powerful atomic explosions are taking place nowadays. So the nuclear weapons are frightening us every day. So one can refer to the International Committee of the Red Cross. Nuclear weapons, an intolerable threat to humanity. So the violence towards the environment and humanity in the form of abortions indirectly generates violence. See, millions of abortions are being approached. This is around 10 lakh abortions were approached, accessed in India itself just in 1 year. So the violence towards nature and human beings is indirectly generating violence in the form of wars, terrorism, road accidents, etc. So, and one can easily feel this because in Syria, so many people were killed. Now, why? Because their economy is based on petroleum products. So petroleum products directly is polluting the atmosphere, and therefore that nation experienced huge violence in the form of a civil war. Now next, I go to the cause of personal and social problems. Power operated heavy machinery, that is industrialization, this indirectly includes automated machinery and computers, has thrown the hand-skilled labor out of job. One can refer to the paper by Park Young-jin and Michael Peters. Jobless or underpaid villagers migrated to cities are facing all the below mentioned problems. So what are those problems? Oversized, overpopulated towns and cities have generated many personal and social problems like accommodation, availability of healthy and nourishing food, milk, grains, vegetables, etc. Distance from the natural environment has given rise to mental stress, anger, greed, etc. Insecurity, social problems like theft, oppression of the woman, like eve teasing, rape, extramarital relationship, etc., and many other crimes One can refer to the paper by John Braithwaite, 1975, have come into existence. Reason being, the residents of oversized and overpopulated towns and cities lack intimacy and personal contact. Administration and control are also difficult. The causes of the problems of orphans and widows are accidents, wars, diseases, and terrorism. The problems of aged persons now, so this is clear from the old age homes all over the world. So even in India, in all cities and even in towns, we have old age homes. So that problem of the aged persons has come up. Similarly, corruption. Corruption is hollowing the nations, and corruption is a big problem all over the world. So the cause of these two problems, that is the looking after of the aged persons, care of the aged persons, and corruption, is the absence of the men of character, because now the character of the people is deteriorating, or it has deteriorated. So in the absence of the men of character, both these problems have come into existence. The main causes of the climate change, pollution, pandemic, corona, etc., violence, terrorism, etc., and many personal and social problems have been thus discussed in brief. And one can refer to the various references which I have given in this paper and do logical extrapolation for detailed insight. Now, the solution to the above problems needs the basic framework of the village, town, and city planning, and this I will discuss in the next lecture. That the solution to these problems lies in the correct village, town, and city planning. So far, whatever I have discussed, the causes of the various problems which humanity is facing, the world is facing. If you have any doubt or if you want to discuss anything, please feel free to ask me.
Thank you, Dr. Niranjanji. He has given an elaborate description of the causes that are causing the global warming and the other problems in the society. He, he pointed out and he referred to some shlokas of Manu Smriti, where Manu says that the amedhya things, either they should not be burnt into the fire and they should not be thrown into the water. If we are going to burn them into the fire, then they are going to pollute our atmosphere. And if we are going to throw them into the water, then they are going to pollute the water. And this is what is happening, at least in our country today. And not in our country, no doubt we are throwing amidhya things into water and polluting the water of our rivers and other uh, streams of waters. But in the whole world, these amidhya things are going to be burned. You know, in the Vedas, there one more word has been used for these amidhya things, and that is called as purisha. Purisha means excreta or the feces. So the word is Purishagni. Purishagni, what all these fossil fuels, they are known as Purishagni, or the energy created by these fossil fuels, that is known as Purishagni or Purish. So this Purisha, in Katha Kapishtal Samhita, it has been mentioned that Ye Agnayaha Purishina Avishta Prithivim Manu. And in the Rigveda also, there is a description, Yad Akrandaha Prathamam Jayamanaha Udyanta Samudrat Utava Purisha. Means this Purisha, this is going to be recovered either from the bottom of the sea or from the warmth of the earth. So both way we find fossil fuels in the seas also, as well as in the earth. And Mother Earth has covered all these the things, and the human beings, what we are doing, we are discovering them and we are utilizing them. Mother Nature is so intelligent, it could find that these things should not be utilized. But we people, we the idiot human beings, we are discovering them and we are utilizing them. So we are going against the nature. In ancient Indians and Samrangana Sutradhar, Dr. Niranjan, he will also talk about. And there are mentions the shears they were going to use the solar energy or geothermal energy for their uh, just to utilize or for their any use. Even the aeroplanes in Vrihad Vimana Shastra, it is mentioned that they were being solar energy operated aeroplanes were there. So all the causes that are going to be detrimental for the health of humanity at large on the earth, we are just utilizing those facts unknowingly or knowingly, or out of some greed, or just in the name of progress. In fact, we are digressing and we are creating for ourselves a doomsday type of situation. So he has elaborately given all the causes that are going to create problems, environmental as well as other problems, and even the human nature he described. Whatever act we will do, they are going to have consequences, if not shortly, in the long run. So whatever is we are finding in nature, the climate change and all these things, these are the result of the human activities. जैसा कर्म हम करते हैं वैसा ही फल प्राप्त होता है, ये ईश्वर का सिद्धांत है. So human beings, they must do such karmas as are going to be beneficial for them in future. So I think it's a very good lecture and enlightening one. He just gave all the causes and enumerated all the causes, and he also told that how we are consuming maximum oxygen from our atmosphere, but we are doing deforestation also, and due to this deforestation, whatever oxygen is being consumed, we are not going to make it up in the atmosphere, and that is how the ozone layer is going to be depleted, but because that is a reserve of oxygen, we can say. And if we are going to take more thing on the earth, then the reserve will be depleted, and then there will be no place for human beings to reside on this earth. So I think it's a very good lecture. And if any of our participants or persons in the audience, if you want to add something or want to ask any question, further queries, this house is open.
Yes. Can I?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. It's a wonderful presentation. I really enjoyed, and you have flagged all the issues which are very relevant. I was just wanting you to go back to that Patanjali is what you said, and that's very important. When we, in our day-to-day conversation, that's one. And number two is that when the world is now shifting to electric car, to what extent it is going to help, because the electricity is also generated by not hydropower, but the it also causes a lot of combustion. So to what extent that is going to help, or so your comment on that?
Right. Now, point one was Patanjali's words. Patanjali says that the use of incorrect words, that is non-Sanskrit words which are not correct as per Vyakaranam,
Yes.
is non-virtuous,
Mhm.
adharma. So why he's saying like that? See, when I pronounce a word purusha correctly, purushaha, athwa gauhu, so it has some effect on the environment, our whole universe. Whereas if I misspell this word, ga, go, अथवा gau, kimapi anyat, if I am speaking it in a distorted way, the vibrations which are then generated by that non-Sanskrit word or polluted Sanskrit word or incorrect Sanskrit word, they are that is a non-virtuous act. So why he's saying that it's a non-virtuous act is not just like that, but because that incorrect word has an adverse effect on the environment. So when
Great.
he's so much subtle, he's hinting that we have to use correct Sanskrit words. Then the vibrations generated by the engine or the vibrations of the electromagnetic waves which are using for communication,
Mhm.
they are all non-Sanskrit waves, vibrations.
Right.
Hence, they are creating a nuisance or a great adverse effect on the environment.
Mhm.
So this is very subtle thing from our seers, and the Vedas are clearly telling it again and again. This is whole universe was created with the vibrations of the Vedic words.
Mhm.
Like the sun was very close to the earth, and the devas took it away from the earth by speaking the word. Uh, mm, there's one word. Ghritachi, nahi, so I'm forgetting that word, but by
Okay.
just pronouncing that word, that means the vibrations of that word, the sun was taken away from the earth. So the whole universe is basically we call material waves. See, material waves are very famous in science. So each material is having some waves in it. But what are those waves? If we will decipher them, we will find that those waves are nothing but the Vedic mantras, some Vedic mantra word or the other. So that is from the Patanjali that I wanted to tell that all these 5G, 4G, these waves are creating a havoc on our environment. And
Right.
your second point was, excuse me,
The second was regarding electric cars.
right. So I'll be coming to the end and
Okay.
discussing that the sustainable solution. See, the electric cars may be a temporary solution
Mhm.
to this pollution or excessive use of oxygen, but in the course of time, the solar powered energy or the electric cars, they are not going to help us. Why? That I'll be discussing
Okay.
at the end.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. So nice of you. And a word over regarding your Vedic university, where you are going to set up and what's the status right now?
Right, thank you very much. It's all on paper at present, and
Okay.
it needs around 200 crores of rupees for establishment.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to establish in Pushkar first, Pushkar,
Right.
Rajasthan. So it needs around 400 acres of land and around 2.5 kilometers of the reserve forest all around it.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, the reserve forest will be coming from the government,
Mm-hmm.
but 400 acres of land has to be bought.
Mm-hmm.
So now I have finished my three projects of Ramayanam and Manusmriti and this write-up on the Vedic village. So my fourth project is to succeed on. I have been working on research on the ancient air and space flight systems. I hope to make some progress soon. And with that progress,
So you have some initial discussion with the government of Rajasthan regarding land availability, etc.
excuse me.
Did you have some dialogue with the government of Rajasthan for land available to your
No,
secretary?
yeah, I had their secretary, one of their secretaries is a friend of mine,
Okay.
and he's ready to help in all ways. But I thought that I should have at least 100 crores of rupees with me, initial fund,
Hmm.
so that I can then proceed further.
Right.
Because government can help us, but unless we should also have some thing with us.
True. True. True.
Yeah, we have
Suppose
here
Swami
Vivek.
Ramdev is also ready to help,
Okay.
but I have to stand here on my feet because he may start the university, but in every year we need some expenditure to be incurred. So I have to stand on my feet to meet all those expenses every year.
Okay.
So we have here Vivek Garg. So he has raised his hand. Vivek ji, if you want to ask any question, you are.
Yes, sir. I want to ask one question. Are you getting me?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, we are getting it.
So I just got the news that more than the 1,500 cows were killed in last 7 days in Andhra Pradesh, and there is a one video is going to be very viral. So what I think so that this kind of pollution is also create this some kind of the negative vibrations in the environment. So do you think it's also create an impact, a negative impact occurs or a kind of the uh, means the when the cows Indian cows get used to be killed then uh, जो दर्द उसमें निकलता है that's also affect a lot.
Yeah, right. So you have pointed to the right point. See, thing is, that's why I said millions of abortions are going on in India. And as per the Vedas, even one abortion is Mahapatak. Mahapatak, you understand? That means if we kill one person, if we kill one cow, the violence generated, of course, uh, it may land us to some problems. But if we are doing one abortion, that is equivalent to killing thousands of persons. You know, it is Mahapatak. So millions of abortions are being accessed in India every year and every month. So what about their chitkar? You know, what about those vibrations? They are creating havoc.
Hmm.
Yeah, certainly, because whatever unnatural things are done, they are going against the nature, and they are going to have adverse effect in nature as well as on our lives also. So that is why it is said that in the Sanskrit language is a natural language. The frequency and the vibrations of the sounds goes with the vibrations or the frequency of the sounds in nature. So these are the natural things, and other languages they are known as Malay languages because they don't have their vibrations, the vibrations of their words attuned with the nature. And similarly, if we are going to kill something, killing is also against nature. So if we are going to kill a human being or kill a cow or not even a cow, if any animal we are going to kill, that is unnatural. And whatever uh, that pain is created, that pain is also against those vibrations or the frequencies of the nature, and that is going to have an adverse effect on our lives and the environment too. And if the environment is polluted, then our minds will get polluted. And if our minds get polluted, then the whole human body gets polluted. And we won't have those sanskari, good human beings, but we will have uh, the class of terrorists, the class of murderers, the class of the thieves will be created on this earth, and there will be a havoc all around. So it is said that if you want to, Swami Dayananda says that sare sansar ka propakara karna. If you are doing your propakar only and others are not going to be done any propakar, then that is not beneficial. Because if you are living in the company of the thieves and you are a good person, that has no effect, and in fact that is going to create problem for you. So the entire society has to be taught those lessons of the morality. And if we are not able to do that, even one single part of the land, the people inhabiting a one particular part of the land, if they are living that type of life, so the happiness will come in their life, and all the miseries and all these mental tension, whatever we have, stress and all these things will be over. So the Vedic way of life, is the natural way of life. Ved is not something, any religious thing or communal thing. Vedic means natural. Vedic means what is scientific, what is knowledgeable, and that is going to have its lasting impact on the whole earth, in the whole society, and in the whole environment. And if the human beings, they are not going to follow it, they will certainly suffer. So if anybody else want to ask any question or have his opinion.
Uh, I'm having the another question for the Dr. Ravi Prakash ji.
Yeah.
That's that if this such accident is going to be happens, means whatever the bad activities are going on, so
Yeah.
it's a duty of on the Vedic uh, gentlemen also that they have to protect them. If
Yes.
we if we'll not do our part, then who will take care?
Certainly, it is the duty of each and everybody, but it is the duty of more enlightened persons. That is, we are going to convene this seminar. We are just enlightening the human beings that what are the main causes that are creating problem in the society, and we are also going to highlight the solutions also. Not only causes, but the next lectures we are going to highlight the solutions also. So this is our duty, no doubt. And what a scholar can do, he can just bring hope the ideas, he just can propagate these ideas, he can make the ideas known to the whole people. But it is also up to the people to follow it. If they are not going to follow it, nothing can be done. So we are going to put all these lectures on the website also, in YouTube also, so that the our friends who are not able to get these ideas online here, they may hear it on the YouTube also. So certainly it's our duty, and that is why in Rigveda it says, "Vayam uh, uh, Vayam Rashtre Jagriyam Purohita." He says, "Let us be the awakened leader in the nation. We are to be the leader, and as the aware society or the awakened leader. A human being has to be a aware human being, not to be an ignorant human being. And that is why it is said, Rite Jnanat Namukti. There is no, you are not going to get rid of all these problems if you don't have the right knowledge. So our aim is to impart the right knowledge so that the people, they may follow the right path and they may enjoy their mundane life.
So do you think
And
the Prajanya Shastra is also the kind of the solution for that? I mean, for the artificial rain from the Agnihotra system and
yes, yes, during Vedic times, the Varsheshti yajnas were to be done, and those yajnas through those rain-making experiments were done through yajnas, and the yajna is also called as the Sreshtatamam, yajjo vai Sreshtatamam karma, because that is the creative thing. If there is rainlessness or if there is a famine and we are going to make it rain in those areas, then there will be the nature will get nourished with the plantations and all these things, and which are again going to provide us this oxygen, and they are going to rebuild that depleted ozone layer also. So these are all the creative acts. So all the positive and creative things, they acts, they are called as yajnas.
Thank you, Gurudev.
So anybody else? Because many friends are very curious, and the house is open. Our speaker is also here. He wants to give more scientific data if you need, because he has done a lot of work on this paper while preparing this paper.
Dr. Niranjan,
Yes.
just a comment. We out here in the west coast of Canada, we have a new terminology. It's called atmospheric river, and that came about because in November we had so much rain coming down at one time that this is something that has never been seen before, and it's caused lots of flooding. It's caused lots of landslides, and highways were washed away and things like that. And we were cut off from the rest of Canada for a bit because of all of this. So atmospheric river is something new, and we expect more of it. So um, this probably is something you have studied about. Have you heard of it or anything?
Right. In the Vedas, Samudra, the other name for this atmosphere, that is Akash, is Samudra. Samudravanti apo asmat. So we have this water, though it's not visible, but it's present uh, in various forms in the atmosphere, and therefore it is called as Samudra, Samudra in Sanskrit. Similarly, in the
In,
space, in the
yeah.
Antariksh,
In the Vedas, all the names of this Samudra, they pertain to the Antariksha, in fact. Antariksha. Antariksha Namani.
so Antariksh is full of sublime water. We call it up. So the present science also is coming towards that our space is full of up, very subtle form of water. So if suppose there is a climate change, or there is a distortion because of the global warming, or like excessive use of oxygen, then that water which is already present in the atmosphere in subtle form or in space, that gets precipitated, and that balance is disturbed. So it may not be that we are having some atmospheric rivers, but these atmospheric rivers are temporary phenomenon which are created because of this environmental change or climate change or pollution, etc. Or even the
Certainly,
waves, the electromagnetic waves, for used for communication.
certainly this whole, universe is three-tier. One, Prithvi, Antariksha, and Dyulok. All these are interconnected. If we are going to create a problem on Prithvi, then certainly this Antariksha will also be affected, and the Dyuloka, there will also be the problems. So the whole things, the entire thing is interconnected, and if we are going to create disturbance at any point, at any level, then the entire system is going to be disturbed, and that is going to cause havoc for us and problems for us. So it is all interconnected. That is why the Vedic way of life is the natural way of life. We are not going to disturb the nature, but we are going to follow the nature in its proper form.
So am I clear to some extent?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
So if anybody else wants to have any question or query or comment, welcome.
Yes, sir. May I?
Yeah, Ram Singh ji.
I belong to a farmer's family. And in my childhood, I experienced my grandfather's and mother's lifestyle. And in those days, or even in today, the lifestyle is so natural that so many diseases were out of naming, and so many problems the Manglaji said they were not present in those days, and all the ancient uh, traditions or say the practices were used. So lifestyle of a village, though the science has realized so much, but in those days everything was there, everybody was happy, and no such problems were prevalent there. So village life that I enjoyed, it was the solution of all the problems that has been created or propagated by the modern progress. So, is it my right thinking, sir?
Yes, that's what I'm coming to. Now the solution I'll be discussing. And once you will see the um layout of the village and the environment, so whatever you are saying will come true.
Right, sir. Thank you very much.
So certainly in I also know the Britishers they did their first consensus, na? This population counting in 1881, and during that consensus it was found that out of five only one person was ill, four persons were healthy. But these days, out of five, I think all the five persons are not healthy. Everybody will be having some type of pill or other. So now the system, we can see how either we are progressing or degressing. That's a thing to be realized, because during those days the people they were living more natural life and they were breathing more natural things, and now we are living more unnatural or artificial life. So artificiality has come, we have gone away from the nature.
Should I now proceed to the solution?
Yeah, yes.
All right. Solution: Vedic village and city planning. As I said, the to solve these problems, we need the proper framework of the village, town, and city planning. So that proper framework is being now discussed. So we are calling it Vedic village and city planning. Why? Because it is based on Samrangan Sutradhar, which has its roots from the Vedas, Vishwakarma. Now, as per Samrangan Sutradhar, Lord Vishwakarma tells comforts, riches, special achievements, and offsprings are always dear to the people. Everything should be well designed to achieve it. This is the very first verse of Samrangan Sutradhar. Then in the consequent chapters, it tells the sizes of a village, city, towns, etc. So it says the width of the large city is desired to be 4,000 chapa, of the medium 2,000, and 1,000 chapa of the small city. Area of each city should be in the form of a rectangle whose length is 1/8, 1/4, or or half greater than the width, respectively. The division of a city has been suitably told. The diagonal of a town is said to be half of that of a city, and the diagonal of the village is half of that of a town. A town should be a yojan from the city, and so should be a village from the town. One village should be one gavyuti from a village. A middle-sized nation is said to be 5,384 villages. Now, basically, what I am telling is you can refer to this picture. So here I have shown uh, 5 villages. One village is at the center, and then other villages, if you see here, so this second village is around 2 crores from this village in the center, and similarly all villages around, they are 2 crores from this village. Now the size of a village is 1/4 of a crores, it is in width, and 3/8 of a crores in length. So in feet, it comes out to be, excuse me. So the width is 2000 feet and the length is 3000 feet. Now 1 crores is around 2.5 kilometers. So there is a jungle of 2.5 kilometers all around one village, and similarly around every village. Now you see a green belt around this village, and this green belt is 800 feet. So 800 feet wide strip is there all around the village, and this is reserved for agriculture purposes, orchards, etc. Now, so once this layout is clear or is understood, we can proceed further. So if you see here, number of villages in a medium-sized nation is 5,384. And there is one town for every 40 or 16 villages. And the total number of cities in the whole nation is 7. Now we have 3 types of nations: small, medium, and a large. The large nation has around 9,154 villages. The smallest nation has around 1,500 villages. And of course, the medium size has around 4,000 villages. So the dimensions of this village are fixed. That means we cannot have a village smaller than this one. That means smaller, it cannot be smaller than 2,000 feet in width, and 3,000 feet in length. Similarly, we cannot have a village bigger than this. So the dimensions are fixed, of course. We have a medium-sized village, we have small village, we have large village. But this medium-sized village and the large villages are possibly for other dvipas, which are very big as compared to this Jambu Dweep. Because this Samrangan Sutradhar is not only for people or man living on this earth, it is also for the devas living in the heavens, or for the people or the men living in other dvipas. So there, because the space is huge, so one can go for medium size and large size villages. But for this Jambu Dweep, this small size village is suitable. So now this must be clear that our village cannot be smaller than this, it cannot be larger than this. A town is 4 times, the area of a town is 4 times the area of this village, and the area of a city is 16 times the area of this village. So their dimensions are also fixed. For example, in Ramayanam, it's clearly mentioned that Ayodhya was 2 crores. So that means once we give one dimension, that either the length or the width, the other dimension automatically gets fixed. Because here in the verse it is clearly mentioned that the length has to be half greater than the width respectively, or 1/4 or 1/8. Whether it depends on whether it's a small village or a medium-sized village or a large village. Now, if we see the present day structure, we find that if suppose in India, somewhere 20 houses are there and they call it a village. So even 5 houses making a village, but that's a nonsense. As per the Vedic structure planning, we cannot have a village smaller than this. Similarly, the city cannot be larger than the 16 times the area of this village. So that is also fixed. And of course, that cannot be smaller also. So the dimensions of the village, town, and cities are all fixed. Now, the village, if we see the present day villages, we find the houses in a haphazard manner, roads, etc., they are not proper. But if you see a Vedic village, it is much better than the modern city sector. So, Dr. Arya, can we go to this page number 15? Right. So if you see here, this Vedic village, now this diagram has not been made out of my mind. All these things have been mentioned in Sambrangan Sutradhar. So chapter 31 or chapter 10 probably. So there, these details have been mentioned, that how many roads should be there, what should be the size of the roads. So this is chapter, let me tell you. Yes, this is chapter 10. So if you see here that all around this red one is basically the fort, the wall, all around the village. Now you'll be surprised that it's not only the cities which were having this wall, even for the village, this wall is prescribed. And now inside, if you see this, we call it Ghanta Marg. So nowadays you can call it ring road. So there is a Ghanta Marg or ring road all around the village. If you see all around the periphery, this white one, it is shown by the arrow. And now you can nicely see the various plots and see the roads, how crisscross the roads are. And there are some main roads which are much bigger for Maharath. That means they are called Maharathya. That means very big chariots can move on these roads. And then there we have some small roads, we call them Rathya, where small chariots can move. And now you can see that this 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, this is basically 64 Vastu. That means there are 64 plots in this. Similarly, we can have 100 Pad Vastu and so on. And now you see a Brahmasthan, and at the center there is an open space. One cannot have construction in this. So plots 1, 2, 3, 4, that's known as Brahmasthanam, where no construction can be done. And even in abroad, if you see that these nice cities or towns, they are having a park or an open area in this at the center, and there are buildings all around. So the village, the shape of the village, the layout of a village is similar to the layout of a town, and it is similar to the layout of a city. Only thing their dimensions are different. Thus, the village is not like a present Indian day village. It is a very well developed sector, which is better than Chandigarh sector. See, even the modern sectors are not made like this. And then all around this village, if you see a green belt, so basically the park, we call it Aram. In Sanskrit, park is known as Aram, right? So there is a park all around the village, and you can see that we have this gates all around. This one gate. Through this gate, the people can come in this park. So it's easily accessible by all because it is all around the village. And then you see a blue line. This blue line, so this blue line is basically parikha, which is full of water. That means there is water all around the village, right? And this stream or this canal of water all around the village has lot of flowers in it. So now it has dual purpose. First of all, it maintains proper moisture in the village, and secondly for beauty, and thirdly for protection. Suppose some enemy comes, then it is difficult for him to come enter the village straight away because of this water all around. So we think that this parikha was there all around the cities. No, it was all around the towns as well as villages also. Now, after this blue, this green strip, you see another, this orange strip all around. So basically, that is again, excuse me, that is a place for the cows to reside. See, the cows used to go to jungles for grazing, and when they used to return back to the village, they were not coming and entering the village. They were staying in this peripheral area, this peripheral marg we call it. So this green, orange, you see patch, and I have shown the cows also there. So that is basically the cows after coming in the evening when they come back after grazing, they stay right over here. So now in villages also we know that we call it, there is a name that most of the villagers have their sheds, cow sheds outside the village where they come and stay. So in the morning they are again released for grazing. So that means we are not spoiling our village with cow dungs, etc. There is a proper provision for the cows to stay outside the village itself. And of course, we have thousands of cows staying in the jungle. That means only the cows which are milking cows, which are giving milk, they are only coming and staying all around this village. So that also serves our purpose that Vedas say that we should be staying in the close vicinity of the cows. So that purpose is also served. So if you now again inside the village, we will have auditoriums also. If you see here, athletics ground, auditorium. So people think that only the modern day that people living in cities, they are only enjoying these facilities. No, as per the Vedas or the Vedic this system, even in the village, we are having this auditorium, playing grounds, etc. So that the it's only the name is village because it's a small sector, but everything else, all facilities are here. So, am I clear with the layout of this Vedic village?
Yes.
And that there has to be a space of 2.5 kilometers between two villages. And Dr. Arya, can we go to the previous figure? Right. So between two villages, you see there is a there is a forest, reserved forest of 2 crores. That means around 5 kilometers. And that's was the system in olden days in India also. People used to say that the next village is around 5 to 6 kilometers from our village. So that is the that is the age-old tradition of Samrangan Sutradhar or Vishwakarma, that between two villages there should be at least this much distance. There has to be reserved forest between them, and agricultural land cannot be anywhere. It is surrounding the village only because of many reasons, like it gives a green cover to the village. Secondly, the protection. You know, nowadays people say that the stray cattle is disturbing us, the stray cattle has eaten our crops, etc., or some enemy has destroyed my crops. But once, sorry, the previous figure, Dr. Arya, previous figure, yes, right. No, that green one, yes, yes. So now this agricultural land, if you see, is all around the village only. So the protection is easy because we can have bird, etc. So stray cattle, enemies, etc., will not create problems because it is under protection. It is all around the village. And then between two villages, there has to be a reserved forest of 5 kilometers. Similarly, now towns, because we can have only one town for every 40 villages or 16 villages. It's not that towns are in abundance. And as I have pointed out, Samrangan Sutradhar clearly says, Vishwakarma says that there can be only 7 cities in the whole nation, not more than that. So basically we are having abundance of villages in the nation. And once again, the nation cannot be very huge nation like Russia or even in India. It's basically in olden days, India was a set of many nations. And the reason is this only, that the biggest nation cannot have more than 9,000 villages, and the smallest nation cannot have less than around 1,500 villages. Now the reason is administration and control. See, now our this Supreme Court is flooded with cases, and years pass and still there is no justice done. But once the size of the nation is limited, then decision making is easy, administration is easy, control is easy. So that's very important for the optimal solution, that the nation cannot be too big. So China, Russia, America, basically America is again a united federation of states. So one has to give independence to the very states. The nation should not be too big. That's a wrong concept of the present day times. Yes, we used to have Chakravarti Raja. That means the Chakravarti king used to take care of all the nations, various nations, so that there is dharma prevalent. So the name of our India is basically Aryavart. Aryavart was a collection of many nations. It was not one nation. That concept has to be very clear. And so Britishers left India Now we are weeping that Pakistan is different, we are different, but basically uh, there was one culture, one all over Aryavart, that was the Vedic culture. The Manusmriti was the constitution amongst all these nations, but it was not one nation, there were many nations. Now, with this layout of the villages, towns, and cities, now I will discuss that how all our problems are solved. And this concept of abundance of villages in a nation is also accepted by Lord Manu. So Manu says that there has to be head. The king should appoint the head of a village, the lord of 10 villages, head of 20, head of 100, and the lord of 1,000 villages. See, this is Manusmriti chapter 2, where it is clearly mentioned that each village should have a head. Now, one has to be clear that head means head. Like, that means he will have all the financial powers, he will look after all things. He is like the king of that village. It's not that he is like a patwari. So patwari has no powers. He just takes care of the various pieces of land, and that also just the calculation that which belongs to what, to whom. But the head of a village means he's like a king of that village. He owns that village. He looks after all the problems of that village. So Manu Maharaj says that there has to be the head of a village, then there has to be a head of 10 villages, and then head of 20 villages, head of 100 villages, and the head of 1,000 villages. So the nation, because as I said, the smallest nation will have around 1,500 villages, medium will have around 5,000 villages. So there will be head of 1,000 village each, right? So now this administration and control is very important. So the structure is very important to administer the masses, to control the masses, for controlling crime rate, etc. That means if anything happens in any village, the head of that village is responsible, or the head of the 10 villages will be responsible. So the king will just take care of the head of those 1,000 villages. So is this structure clear to all of you?
Yes, yes, yes.
Once this structure is clear of the village, of the surroundings of a village, of a town and city, and the sizes, we can proceed further to the solutions.
Yes.
Any questions on this?
So I think no questions. We can proceed further.
And you will be surprised that like our village in Haryana is having this parikrama marg all around. They call it Phirni. That means thousands of years back, during the time of Mahabharata, all this system was prevailing, but gradually it got lost. And with the Muslims and with the Britishers, the villages were all distorted. So, should I proceed to the solution?
Yes, yes, yes.
But tomorrow also we are having a lecture, right?
Yes.
From 7 to 9, I
No,
think.
I think tomorrow we can discuss the solutions.
Right. That
Instead of,
how this setup solves
yeah,
all our problems.
yeah.
we will discuss tomorrow, I think.
So if you can tell some more scientific reasons behind this type of planning of the
Right.
villages,
Right.
so that will be, I think, more
Beneficial,
will
right?
make the things more clear.
Right. See, one thing is that,
Yeah,
of course, with the solutions, the scientific facts also come into picture.
yeah,
Like, see, the routine of
yeah,
a dvija, the Vedic routine
yeah.
for a dvija is very important.
Hmm.
So, one of the daily duties of a dvija is Sandhya Vandanam, and that is also in the forest.
Yeah.
So, with the small size of this village, the dvija can easily go out of the village to the forest for meditation,
Hmm.
right?
And we have heard that this is Panchakroshi Parikrama of Kashi and all these things. So that Panchakroshi Parikrama makes Kashi a village or a city by time?
Yes, that's a good question.
Because
See,
they are still doing such parikramas, different places. In fact, those parikramas are the same. We can say that the corrupt forms of that planning that was
right,
prevalent in
right,
ancient
right,
India.
right. So this peripheral, as I said, all along the periphery, there used to be a Ghanta Marg or
Ghanta.
ring road. So all villages or cities used to have this ring road, and it's important that the villagers or the residents of the city, they should go round for parikrama, and what happens is, as a result, the one has to take care of the this ring road. It will be well maintained, and also they will come to know that yes, our village is well protected or our city is well protected,
Mhm.
and it's like puja of this. The village or city is a vastu.
Mhm.
Vastu means, so we have a vastu devata. See,
Yeah,
like a house is not a just a material thing. It
yeah,
has some, it's a living entity. It's a energy.
yeah,
So, in a similar way, a village is a living energy. A
yeah.
town or a city is a living energy. And when we are going around in that parikrama marg, so we are basically taking care of that.
Mhm.
We are doing puja of that. So
Yeah.
it is this
And
ring road is a must.
one more thing, during this structure of the village that you have mentioned, there is no, was there any place for the commercial activities or shops or markets? And one more thing, you have mentioned these auditoriums, you have mentioned the fields, agricultural land, but the schools and colleges and gurukuls of these villages, the people, because we have also come across from the records of the Britishers that when they surveyed the before Macaulay, they did a survey of the education in India, and the surveyor there, just like Ludlow Cashel and William Adams, they tell that by the time of 1845 or 1830s, in India, there were around some 5 to 7 lakh villages, and every village has a Gurukula. Means every after 200 persons there was a gurukula, but in this structure we did not find any provision for that educational sector.
All right, very good question. See, basically, the word Gurukul itself suggests that solution. See, the Brahmanas, the Brahmanas who are staying in this village, their house is not a small plot. So this I have just shown the tentative design. So Brahmana may be having two plots with him. So his house or his house will be quite big, and which will have Gurukul also in his house itself.
No,
That
but
means
but while dealing with this structure, you
right,
must particularly make a mention of this thing, because the education was the must during that period.
right.
That is the right aspect, but that Brahman or the teacher, his plot must be specifically specified into this structure. And I just want to know whether Bhoja in Samarangana Sutradhar he has made a mention of this.
Yes, right. So he mentions that the houses of the Brahmanas has to have to be at the center of the village or the city, and then the houses of the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, etc. So there is a well structured thing. I have not shown here, but you are very correct that the Brahmanas, their houses were at the center in the inner of the village. And then he says that the businessman or the vaishya, so they, each corner, each part of the village should have a vaishya's house, so that again, as you mentioned of the shops, so
Yeah.
in fact the vaishya's house, so he used to stay above, and this shop used to be on the ground.
Ground.
So even in the
Okay.
villages, you see these structures that Havelis, the shops are on the ground, and then his residence is on the second floor, right?
Yeah.
So that means the houses itself are built in such a way that if he is a commercial person or a businessman, his shop or his business will be in his house itself, but in a proper place. Similarly, if he is a Brahmin, so Gurukul is there in his house itself, correct? Similarly, if we say some chariot maker, so that means his house will be made in such a way that he can make chariots in his house. So similarly, a blacksmith,
Mhm.
so he will have his house built in such a way that his activity can be easily carried out in his plot. So
And
that
one
means
more thing, from historical mentions, we find that some Gurukulas used to be there outside where Krishna and Sudama they read. Those Gurukulas were not inside that periphery of the kingdom or that area where the king used to reside. So such ashramas, what was the condition or the position of those ashramas where the acharya and his wife they used to live along with the students, and the students they were not allowed to go to their houses because they used to be located far away from those villages or from those residential areas. That is also historically we get this information.
right. That's again a good question. So if you will go to figure 3, right? So you see here the river Yamuna at the center, and
Mhm.
then there is a reserved forest of 1 crore at least on both the sides of this river,
Yeah.
right? Similarly, for whether it is Ganges or Yamuna, all rivers used to have a reserved forest of around 2.5 kilometers on both the sides. And the ashramas of the, basically they were Vanprastha ashram. That means we all understand Vanprastha ashram.
Yeah.
The people, when they used to go to the third stage of the life, that is Vanprasth, as the name also suggests, Vane Prasthita iti Vanprasth.
Mhm.
So the ashramas of these Vanprasthas were along the rivers, right?
Yeah.
So like Valmiki Muni.
Yes.
So Valmiki Muni had his ashram near the on the banks of the river. Similarly, there were other ashramas,
Mhm.
correct? But
Mhm.
those ashramas belong to the Vanprasthas,
Yeah.
not to the householders. Of
Yeah.
course, Vanprasthas also used to have their wives with them, because one can carry one's wife in one prastha, but the grihastha or the householders, they used to all stay in the villages or towns and cities, not in ashramas. That's a misconcept, because Lord Manu clearly says that a brahmachari,
Mhm.
if he stays in the village after sunrise or after sunset, that means then he must do repentance by not taking food. So which is very clear that a brahmachari used to stay in the village, and for his sandhya vandan he is going outside the village. That means the gurukul was in the village itself. So those villages or towns and cities were so well planned, they were so well structured, that our gurukulas or brahmacharis used to stay there itself, in their houses, guru's house, which were in the village or town or city, not outside the village or outside the town or outside the city. There's a misconception. So
No, but,
even Ram
but
or
there,
Krishna,
yeah, yeah.
they all used to stay in gurukulas, not in ashrama outside the village. That's a big because so much adulteration has taken place in Mahabharata. uh, that's not a correct concept. In Ramayana, again, I have brought out that purified version. It's very clear that, of course, there's no mention that they studied in the ashramas. Only it's mentioned that Guru Vasisht carried out the very sanskaras.
But I think if you go through Satyarth Prakash, what Swami Dayananda says, that these pathshalas and all these things, they should be away from the residential areas, so that the students, they may not come to their parents.
Right. So the student is not.
No, but
What
historically,
Swami Dayanand
you
has given the concept in
yeah.
terms of the modern times. But if we see the Vedic culture, there, see,
No, but in Vedas also we do not find any such thing, that where the locations of the gurukuls or the locations of the residential areas and all these things, there's no specified over there.
again,
Although
all right.
in Vastu
Make,
Granthas and this Samrangana Sutradhar, we have some inklings, but that's still a point of dispute.
yes, again, I
Because
it's a
the
point.
house of a brahmana or a scholar cannot house so many persons, cannot house many students there itself.
Right,
And
right.
if the students will go to his house for study, then they will, in the evening, they will come back to their parents, because how so many students will stay over there.
Right. So now the answer is, see, this is a misconcept that a guru's disciples are hundred or thousands. Basically, each Brahmana used to have, say, around 10, 15, 12, 2, 3 disciples with him. And now, how this is there? See, Manu Maharaj clearly says that a brahmachari has to bring bhiksha, bhiksha. So for bhiksha, he's in that village, he's going to the other householders to bring bhiksha. And the brahmachari is coming back to his guru's house. Now, you are saying that the parents, because he will go to his parents' house or his own house, the thing is Gurukulam. That means the student was generally not staying in the same village. He was being sent to the guru's village, which was distant from his own village. That means his house is not there in that village in general.
Means the students of the same village, they used to go to the guru of the other village.
Right.
Ah.
Other village or distant village or
This is
town.
this is how the exchange was, student exchange
Right.
was taking place.
Right.
But this point may be noted, and we can have some thought over it. But certainly, when I was going through all these Vastu Granthas and all, they are particularly talking about the residential areas. The stress is upon residential areas. I mean, not even, no doubt, when some Vaishya is there, he will do his Vaishya activity in his house. And if Shudra is there, he will do all the productive activities in his house. And this is how the village used to be called as self-dependent, because
Right.
every person. And then if there is any mention in a particular village, how many brahmanas should be there, how many shudras, vaishyas, kshatriyas should be there, is if there is any this type of uh, mention is there regarding their
Yes.
number of persons.
Yeah. That mention is not there, in fact,
Yeah.
but it's clear that
And the
Dvijas,
population of a village, how much the population of a village should be there?
right, that I have brought out. The population of a village is around 20,000
20,000.
at most. At most.
And if 20,000 population is there, so younger population who may be college going, school going students, how many can they be? Some you
Right,
may call some 5,000, 3,000, 4,000.
right, right,
Then there is a need of many villages, because that during the time of British rule, when they just this implemented British education in India, the English education in India, it is said that after 200 students, there was a school, there was a Gurukula, 200 students during that period. So 200 students can together study at a place, in a school or a Gurukul. So we cannot say that only 2, 5, 10 or 20 students should be there.
right. So in a village, if suppose there are 10 Brahmanas and each Brahmana is accommodating 10 students,
So
right,
100 students will be accommodated. But the
right,
village may have some 2,000 students, 4,000
right. So,
students.
right, out of 20,000 population, I'm wrong in saying that there are only 10 Brahman houses. There may be more, right?
No, but
Uh,
my point is that you must also give stress to this particular sector, education sector, whether there
right,
is some particular mention is there, because sometimes these things are neglected now, because our main stress is upon some village formation or so, but they may be neglected, or you just try to find out whether the educational sector there is some particular stress is there on how many, what should be the area of a gurukul and the distance from the village or like that, if it is there.
yes, there is no mention like that, as I pointed out, that
Yeah.
each Brahmana's house is acting as a Gurukulam.
Mhm.
Now, second point is one has to be take care that there is a uh, bifurcation, there is a classification. That
Yeah,
means we have Dvijas who used to study Vedas,
yeah,
and then we have non-Dvijas or the working class which was not studying Vedas, but they were just studying Vyakaranam or mathematics, Ganita,
yeah,
etc. Right? So those that means the working class students, they don't have to go to the Gurukul.
yeah.
For them, there has to be a provision like a school, etc., where they can come and study mathematics, science, etc. So it is only for the Dvijas that they have to go to the Gurukulas.
Oh, no, it means there was a separate study for Vedas, but for skilled jobs, there were some other families who
Right,
were expert in making. Some were expert in making ships. Some were expert in making other chariots or other types of
right,
things. So
right,
those students, they used to have their training with those families. That is why
right,
this family system became more developed in ancient India, and everybody used to have get training of that particular skill in his own
trade.
family itself.
Right,
So
right,
this
right.
also became prevalent, but I think this became prevalent during medieval period. In ancient period, there must have been some other system Because I have heard that in Surat, in Gujarat, there were certain families who used to make ships, and in Samrangana Sutradhar itself, King Bhoj, he mentions in that Yantra Adhyay that I have given all these things, but I have not given their technique, because this doesn't mean that I don't know the technique. The technique was there, but I'm not mentioning, because some paramparagat experts, their copyright is there. He wants to say that they have their copyright on these things, and this is how their copyright will be leaked out, and other people, they may start working over it. So he's not leaking those formulas for making those robots or aeroplanes, what he mentioned over there. So this family system was also there, but by the time of Bhoj, he writes all these things. But so far as the Gurukul education and all these things were there, I think everybody could have gone to the Gurukulas, and if he wished to have, uh, and there was no such necessity also to have the education of Vedas and Shastras. So anybody was free, whether he want to have some skill education or the Vedic education, it was their choice. But there must be some in the village itself. This whole setup was there, so it appears to be somewhat ridiculous.
Uh,
Because
excuse me,
for
there
training,
was
there
there
must
was
be a separate system.
there was no choice. See,
Hmm.
by tradition, by
Yeah,
family tradition, the children of a carpenter used to learn that trade, and they used to become carpenters, very good carpenters, of a cobbler or a blacksmith or a goldsmith. By tradition, they were learning that art.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there was no problem of jobs, etc. Similarly, the offsprings of these Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, and Brahmanas, they
Mhm.
were going for Vedic education.
So this concept of universities, you mean to say it came during Buddhism?
Right.
Because
Buddhism
this
was
Takshashila, Vikramashila
right. Right, right, right.
are not in the Vedic period.
No, Vedic period is a decentralized system.
so then there will be a problem.
No, no problem.
No, no, no. We can't say like that. No, if there is no university, we want to say that there was no education, higher education in this country.
No, no, there was higher
No,
education,
no.
but it was
It must be
decentralized.
like no, decentralization must be there, but if the concept of higher education is there, then there must have been some bigger system of education. The small houses, the higher education system cannot be imparted.
We think it's a small house, but basically a scholar who knows four Vedas, you
No,
know.
no. What I want to say, even in Samrangana Sutradhar, Bose has not mentioned all these things. He has given this criteria of the residential part. He has not talked about this educational sector. He is talking about this one. But we should not include into this system the whole everything into it. So let that develop separately, because this is only for the residential purposes he is talking about.
Right. So
He is
we
not
can discuss
particularly
that
mentioned all these things.
education afterwards. Now we are,
No, no doubt education was a sector, but particularly he is not mentioning it here. It is not the subject of his dealing. He is just talking about the residential sector, how the residential sector should be developed. So his emphasis by that time was on the residential sector itself, but the education also developed, and there were big system of educations were there. Either you call that those ashramas or gurukulas, whatever is there. Gurukul, no doubt, it may be the house of a guru also, but the ashramas, the shears who used to live in forests, they were also imparting education to the students.
See, they were not
The
imparting
sannyasis,
education.
the
Yes.
peripatetic monks, they used to move around the whole nation just to impart education. So everybody was, the act of proliferation of knowledge was there, no doubt, whether it was a sannyasi or a vanaprasthi or a brahman, everybody was engaged in the proliferation of the knowledge. So I think this part we must confine to the residential sector only. Through this, we should not derive the educational sector. Then it will have a very adverse impact on the Vedic, on the education system of India during Vedic age. And this is not going to be in conformity with the Dayananda's principle of education also. No doubt, in village houses also, a teacher could teach. These days also, the teachers, the students, they come, they get education, they get tuitions with those teachers. But because during British period also, the Britishers says that there were 1,500 schools of surgery in Tamil Nadu district itself. They were not working in the houses. There must have been some structure, some educational system developed over there. And when they talk about that, there were some 15,000 institutions of higher learning, they say like that. So this was not developed on the after the fashion or the ancient these in 18th century. People did not copy it from Britishers, but it was the independent infrastructure of education was there. And they also say that this whole education system was the social subject. It was not the state subject. The people of the society, they were funding it. They were giving donation, charity to the gurukuls, and where the students, they were getting education. So some infrastructure of educational infrastructure was there. But here in Samrangana Sutradhar, Bhoj is talking about only the residential sector. He's not talking about that educational infrastructure and all these things. If these things will be discussed, he should have devoted some separate chapter for that. But his main emphasis was for this residential and all these things. And even the people used to say during ancient period there were no hospitals, only the Vaidyas were there. But we find a mention of Aturalayas where the people, the hospitals were there. So Gurukul system, ashram system, they were developed just to give education to the students. Because there are so many ashramas of the rishis were there. And those ashramas, even this Dushyant and Shakuntala's story, it is also the ashram of Kanva. And the brahmacharis, they used to live over there and get education. So ashram system, I think it was the institution of higher learning. And this Gurukul system, we can say that it was the institution of some 10th standard, 12th standard type of learning, we can say, school education type of system. So it's a good thing if anybody wants to say something or make comment, you are open.
सर बहुत अच्छा लगा सारी परिचर्चा को सुनकर के
जी रामचंद्र जी।
और हम बहुत आभारी हैं कि आपने इतनी अच्छी संगोष्ठी का आयोजन आज किया है सर। इसके बारे में तो बहुत सारी चीजें हैं, कुछ मैं भी साझा करना चाह रहा था और लेकिन वो फिर कभी करेंगे। लेकिन
कल भी
जिस तरीके से निरंजन लाल मंगला सर ने और आपने इस तरह से रखा, वो अपने आप में बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है और इसके जो आयाम निकले हैं वो बहुत ही विशेष रूप से विचारणीय है। पिछले दिनों मुझे याद है राधा वल्लभ त्रिपाठी जी ने इस विषय पर एक बहुत अच्छा लेक्चर दिया था। विशेष करके उन्होंने कौटिल्य अर्थशास्त्र को आधार बना करके दिया था और उसमें इसके बारे में कुछ एस्पेक्ट्स उन्होंने शेयर किए थे। तो बहुत अच्छा है, और कल की जो संगोष्ठी है उसमें कुछ समाधान भी मिलेंगे, तो उसमें भी सहभागी रहेंगे। तो बहुत बहुत आभार सर आपका, धन्यवाद।
जी जी, धन्यवाद। और if anybody else wants to make a comment, our magistrate.
I would like to speak for
Yeah.
1 minute.
Yeah,
Uh,
surprise.
पहली बात है कि जो this session was very wonderful and very educative also. I have seen Gurukul Kanam Ashram. I have gone 2 times there. It is near Kordwar or and Lansdowne, and that way it is there.
Yeah.
After crossing Hardwar, I got through there. I met there Mr. Jayant. He is in charge of that Guru. And I think there were 80 students dwelling at time.
Yeah.
In the night, we found a lion, small lion. It came. Second day, we found in the night a Tendua came there.
Oh.
They are still in that portion, and they told that Shant and that story belongs to that place.
Yeah.
So there, that Acharya told me, in ancient times, the all dwelling places, they automatically were classified as colonies for professors, that means rishis. Like sweepers, that means Shudras.
Yeah.
Like staff quarters, they were different. As we find today, there are different staff quarters for professors, different for judges. Even Delhi, we got 3 complexes for judges.
Yeah.
For different categories depending upon their profession mainly, or grade A, grade B, like that.
Yeah.
And secondly, the education institutes, they were 100% residential that time, so that people and the children, they don't waste time in coming and going in the transportation. Moreover, the boy needs more concentration for education.
Yeah.
Moreover, he is away from their parents, जिसको कहते हैं मोह से दूर हो जाता है बच्चा. So I think overall those dwellings which are residential complexes, they are better for a child, for its personal development, for psychological development, and also for better career. The rest is I will listen tomorrow also. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Sapraji. Sapraji is a retired magistrate from Delhi, but he takes a lot of interest in all such academic activities.
I must tell you one thing. I have published about 120 books from Arya Samaj on my own. My publication is there, but they are all very on different wider subjects.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sapraji. Or anybody else? So I think we had a very good discussion on all these subjects, on this subject, and tomorrow also we'll assemble just to proceed this discussion further. So I thank you all for your gracious presence to make this talk a success. And Dr. Niranjan Mangalaji, he has done a lot of work, and seriously, he's a serious student of Veda, although he was earlier a student of science, but now he is a serious student of Veda, and he's doing a lot of work in various aspects of Vedic studies. He has just recently published a Mahabharata, Sanshodhit Mahabharata. Ramayana, and Manusmriti also he has published. So those 2 books are with me. Then he proposed, he gave an article on this Vedic planning or city planning system to me. Then I told, let me have first arrange a talk by you on this subject, then we'll proceed further for its publication. So I thank Niranjanji and Professor Anand Kumar Sharma ji, Dr. Arun Upadhyay ji, Om Shapra ji, Ashwini Rajpal ji, Dr. Ramchandra ji, and all our friends who attended this seminar from we have Ram Swarup ji from Trinidad, we have Vivekananda Mahavir ji from Canada, and I think we have somebody from Mauritius also. So I thank everybody for making this seminar a success.